Hi, just wanted to take a second to talk to y'all. As you might have noticed, we just hit 10K about 2 weeks ago, so I just wanted to take this opportunity, not as KLA Clips, but as John, to say thank you to everyone for all the love that they've shown the past year, and I'm glad that y'all aren't sick of me yet, because I plan on being here for a very long time. I'm going to figure out something cool to do for 10K and talk about it in a future video, but I just wanted to acknowledge you here first and foremost. If you have any suggestions as to what I could do, I'm all ears in the comments, or all eyes rather, and my Discord link in the description. That's enough for me though. Thank you for listening as well as your constant support, and let's get into this fucking video.
The reaction that he's getting from the crowd tonight, you would think Adolf Hitler was walking into the building.
CM Punk and Nick Mondo. One is considered by many as one of the most talented all-around performers in the history of deathmatch wrestling, the other being one of the most influential professional wrestlers of the 21st century with a reputation that precedes him. While both were among the biggest acts of the independent circuit during the 2000s, they're completely different wrestlers who are in completely different parts of the industry for the most part, so you never expect them to cross paths in near any capacity. That's what you would think, but do I have something to show you? Punk and Mondo face each other very early on into both of their careers in a match that nobody watching this likely expected to exist nearly 25 years after it took place. Hell, I had no idea that this match existed before a couple of days ago. I postponed other ideas that I had started writing because I really wanted to see this match, and this match is what indeed we are going to be seeing in today's video. If you do enjoy this video and you want to see more videos about all the random and cool stuff that comes from pro wrestling, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. With that being said, let's get right into it.
I only pick on women, that's why I'm picking on you two jerks right now. You have a vagina!
Meet CM Punk. Again. I've already covered CM Punk on this channel in the past when he made a visit to CZW and wrestled then world champion Justice Payne in what would be his only appearance for the promotion. I'll spare you the lines in this paragraph about the titles that he's won, the matches that he's had, or the promos that he's cut for major promotions over the years because I'm sure you already know all about that. Instead, we're going to be focusing on the very early portions of his career. Punk began his career as a backyard wrestler, a backyardigan if you will, and started a promotion with his brother Mike and some of their friends known as the Lunatic Wrestling Federation. During this period is where he would adopt the CM Punk name as part of a tag team known as the Chick Magnets with another individual who went by CM Venom. So if you're ever wondering what the CM stood for, there's your answer. By 1999, they gained some traction before Punk left due to his brother taking thousands from the promotion, ending his relationship with his brother, and the promotion would eventually close its doors in 2004. Following his departure, he began proper wrestling training at the Steel Dominion School in St. Paul, Minnesota, where he'd be trained predominantly by wrestlers Danny Dominion and Ace Steel, the latter of which would become a great friend to Punk over time. During Punk's time training, he would make friends with other wrestlers who were also training at the facility, like Adam Pearce or more notably Colt Cabana, but don't say that name around Punk nowadays or else it's gonna get nasty. There are actually many infamous stories in wrestling history that have indirectly taken place as a result of this school, but we might have to save that for another day. As part of his training, Punk wrestled for the Steel Domain Wrestling promotion from 1999 to 2001, where he would wrestle the likes of Steel, Dominion, Pearce, and Cabana, while also facing off against our next participant. Meet Sick Nick Mondo. Despite only wrestling for 4 years, Mondo is one of the most popular names in all of independent wrestling, on top of being considered by many to be one of the greatest US-born deathmatch performers of all time. Deathmatch wrestling is usually frowned upon by certain groups of wrestling fans due to the wrestlers not working in the way that they're used to. They typically go out of their way to say that certain wrestlers couldn't work themselves out of a wet paper bag or whatever new phrases they learned from Jim Cornette that week because they don't showcase pro wrestling in the ways that they're otherwise accustomed to. What made Mondo so great and so unique to both deathmatch fans and others alike was the fact that he utilized different styles of offense in those matches, which differentiated him from most anyone else in the scene at that point, a look that not many in wrestling had, and his theme song being Last Resort by Papa Roach.
Cut my life into...
I don't think that makes any other wrestler worse, but it definitely did make Mondo stand out that much more. He is a 3-time Iron Man champion and a former tag champion in CZW with Rick Blade, as well as being CZW's second ever Tournament of Death winner. Despite how accomplished he was in this field, he wasn't exclusively a deathmatch wrestler, and he would just as often wrestle in regular matches in CZW against the likes of Trent Acid, The Messiah, and Justice Payne, while outside of CZW he would have matches with the likes of Spider Nate Webb and IWA Mid-South, B-Boy, and would even make some trips down to his home state of Minnesota to wrestle for Steel Domain, and this is where he faced Punk in a clash involving two of the biggest names in all of independent wrestling during the 2000s. The match took place on March 31st, 2001 and emanated from the West St. Paul Armory in St. Paul, Minnesota. I think that's everything we need, so let's just get into the match. Mondo makes his entrance, cuts a promo firmly establishing himself as a heel, and calls Punk out of the ring. Punk comes out to Olay by the Bouncing Souls.
St. Paul fans eating out of the palm of his hand. Listen to that crowd.
which really shocked me because I don't remember him ever coming out to the song. El Generico probably made the boss call and took that shit back. Punk greeted the fans, did a flip over the ropes that didn't land. I've seen this one before. And the bell rings. Both men circle around each other before getting into a collar and elbow tie-up, with Mondo taking early control of the wrist. Punk maneuvers out of it and repays the favor for Mondo. Punk transitions into a headlock. Mondo bounces Punk off the ropes, only for Punk to take him down with a shoulder tackle. Punk runs the ropes. Mondo dodges him at every turn before delivering a front dropkick to the abdomen. Mondo slowly gets Punk back up, whips him into the ropes, but Punk is able to dodge a chop, sets Mondo up for a back suplex, but Mondo flips out of it. Mondo clocks Punk with a forearm, whips him into the ropes again, only D to heads as his takedown for his troubles. Punk runs into Mondo, and Mondo catches him and hits a tilt-a-whirl slam. Punk recovers, the two stare each other down as the crowd cheers. Mondo dishes out some forearms, tries to whip Punk, but Punk counters and hits a clothesline. Punk hits a forearm, gets Mondo into position, and hits him with a delayed vertical suplex. Punk then picks Mondo up, delivers a snapmare, runs into the ropes, and hits a running dropkick onto a seated Mondo. Punk wants to hype up the crowd, so he runs into the corner and hits Mondo with a tornado DDT. Punk asks if they want one more. The camera pans to an excited crowd just for them to miss the move. Either the move was botched though, or it was a counter from Mondo, but regardless, Mondo kicks Punk in the head a couple of times, delivers a beautiful pair of back suplexes, rolling into one another before bouncing Punk off the ropes and hitting a blue thunder bomb. Shout out to Jun Akiyama. Mondo goes for the cover, but Punk just kicks out before 3. Mondo delivers a snapmare to Punk and goes for a sort of abdominal stretch attempt onto a seated Punk. It's not exact, but it's pretty similar in my opinion. Punk fights out of it, gets some shots in. Mondo rakes the eyes, whips Punk, but he counters and hits a belly-to-belly suplex to Mondo. Punk brings Mondo to the corner, delivers some chops, whips Mondo into the opposite corner, but Mondo springs up, slips on the ropes, and lands right on his shoulder. Punk gets Mondo up, hits 2 perfect plexes, rolls out of both before hitting a variation of a fisherman driver. Punk goes for the pin and only gets 2. Punk goes for another whip, Mondo reverses, Punk goes for a sunset flip, Mondo rolls out of it and hits a kick square to the dome of Punk. Mondo brings a steel chair into the ring, sets Punk up on the other side of the ring, goes up for the springboard and hits a leg drop onto Punk. Punk somehow got the better of the exchange as he got to his feet in relatively quick fashion. Mondo tries to send Punk out of the ring, but Punk counters. Mondo lands on the apron. Punk tries to trip him, but Mondo flips back in. Goes for a baseball slide, but Punk ducks it. Mondo hits a ducked Punk in the back before grabbing a chair and smashing Punk in the back with it. I guess this is no disqualification. Mondo, who is now back in the ring, throws a chair to Punk, thinking about a Van Daminator of sorts, but Punk throws the chair face first into Mondo. Punk re-enters the ring, sets up the chair, and delivers a drop toe hold to Mondo onto the chair. Punk hits Mondo up, sends him into the ropes. Mondo gets waist control, gets an O'Connor roll, but both shoulders are pinned to the mat as the ref counts to 3 in what would be a double pin finish. The match was fine, it had some sloppy moments as well as some minor issues with not letting spots breathe, but I'm definitely chalking that up to the inexperience of both. There are some pretty cool spots in this match that I really enjoyed. The rollouts to the back suplex and perfect plexes from Mondo and Punk respectively were really clean, and it was a fun match all things considered. Not a ton to nitpick, and it wasn't that long either as it was around about 9 minutes. I really love the finish. I'm not a big fan of double pins in wrestling. I think this one was executed pretty well. And it's also pretty funny seeing Punk work so hard to get the crowd to cheer. He's this fucking white meat babyface considering it was around this time that he was really thriving as a dickhead in IWA Mid-South. Mondo and Punk had one more match together, which also took place in 2001. Cage Match says that this took place in April. The description of this video that I found on YouTube said it was in October. Again, this took place for Steel Domain and emanated from the Crystal Community Center in Crystal, Minnesota. That said, for the second time, let's get into the match. Both men are already in the ring, the ref checks them for weapons, the bell rings, and the match begins. It starts the same way their last one started, with a collar and elbow, but this time Punk pushes Mondo into the corner. Mondo responds with a shot to the jaw as they circle the ring. Punk hits Mondo in the eyes, whips Punk into the ropes, but Punk counters, bends down, and Mondo flipped over, but after that, Mondo eats a shot to the face as payback. Punk hits Mondo with a headlock takedown. Mondo sends Punk into the ropes, but Punk hits him with a shoulder tackle. Punk runs the ropes, Mondo dodges, attempts a monkey flip, but Punk tries to catch him into a wheelbarrow. Mondo gets out of it and hits an arm drag. Punk runs into the ropes, hits a head scissors onto Mondo, and then a dropkick, and this is where Mondo rolls out of the ring. Punk tries to get Mondo back into the ring, but Mondo pulls Punk out, works on Punk outside with different strikes and kicks to the back and the head. Mondo gets Punk to his feet, whips Punk into the corner post, but Punk counters and sends Mondo head first. Punk gets Mondo back into the ring, attempts that sunset flip from the last match, and Mondo kicks him right in the head yet again. Mondo then sets Punk up for the abdominal stretch, gets up, hits those rolling back suplexes into the rebound blue thunder bomb. Mondo goes for the pin and barely gets a 2. Mondo gets Punk up, whips Punk into the ropes. Punk stops and tries to get waist control, but to no avail as Mondo gets Punk to the ground and slaps on a leg bar. Punk quickly gets to the ropes, breaking the hold before Mondo starts kicking him in the chest. Mondo hits a scoop slam, goes to the ring apron, attempts a springboard leg drop, but Punk moves out of the way. Punk gets Mondo up, delivers a snapmare, runs into the ropes, and a basement dropkick right to the face of Mondo. Punk goes for the pin, but is unsuccessful. Punk hits a double underhook backbreaker onto Mondo, goes to the top, Mondo recovers in time, gets Punk in the yam bag region, goes to the middle rope and attempting a superplex, but Punk fights him off and hits a missile dropkick to the back of Mondo. A battle of wrist control, Punk eventually stops Mondo and gets him in position for a Fire Thunder driver, which he connects on. Punk goes for the cover, gets the 3 count, and ends this match. I thought that this one, while not as exciting as the other, was a lot more well constructed of an effort. Still could have used time to let certain moves breathe, but again, it's a very young Punk versus a Nick Mondo in his sophomore year, getting a 5 to 6 minute match. I liked what I saw from it overall. That Fire Thunder driver finish was fucking sick from Punk. I didn't know he had it in his bag. I need to see him break it out a couple of times before he calls it quits. He won't. Both of these men had completely different careers going forward. We already know how it went for Punk. TNA, ROH, WWE, AEW, WWE again, countless moments, countless titles, etc. I'm not going to bore you with common knowledge. Mondo retired from pro wrestling around 2 years following this match, right after he had won Tournament of Death 2, while also being Iron Man champion for CZW. Upon retirement, Mondo began working as a filmmaker, actor, stuntman, you name it. He's done some independent projects over time, most notably The Trade in 2017, which went more into his mind over a decade after retirement. However, he has worked in wrestling multiple times since, filming multiple vignettes for Jon Moxley over the years, including the first one that was released following Moxley's departure from WWE. He worked in AEW for a brief period as a director, and even worked with Punk again for an action figure commercial in 2024. But yeah, that was CM Punk versus Nick Mondo. What did you think? Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video, as I look for all feedback, positive or negative. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so you do not miss out on any future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.